When you open your eyes in the morning, you think you're seeing the world as it truly is, but that's not the case. What you see is only what you want to see, or more accurately, what your deeply biased brain allows you to see. Let's do a rather cruel test, which might cause you to feel a physical aversion to the next few thousand words, and even make you want to turn off the sound. But I suggest you bear with it, because this discomfort precisely indicates that your brain is being invaded. Now, look around and find all the red things in your room. Red books, red cups, red patterns on the carpet, even the red notification icon on your phone screen. Okay, close your eyes. Now, tell me, what green things did you see just now? Are you stuck? You might say that's unfair, you asked me to look for red things. That's right, that's exactly what I'm trying to say. The green things in this room have always been there. They didn't disappear because you closed your eyes, nor did they become invisible because you were focused on finding red things. They exist objectively. On a physical level, the light waves they emit are constantly hitting your retina. But for you, they don't exist. At this moment, you are blind to green. This isn't just a visual game, it's a microcosm of your entire life. Every single one of us, and I mean every single person, no matter how objective, rational, or independent-minded you think you are, lives in an information bubble constructed by our own focus. In neuroscience, this is called the reticular activating system, or RAS for short. It sounds very sophisticated, but simply put, it's like a security guard at the entrance of your brain. Do you know? Your 5 senses, sight, hearing, smell, touch, and taste, receive approximately 400 billion bits of information per second. What does that even mean? If your brain processed all this information, your CPU would overheat and burn out in 1/1000th of a second, and your head would explode like an egg in a microwave. To keep you alive and prevent you from going insane, evolution has given you this security guard called the RAS, reticular activating system. His job is very simple and straightforward. Throw 99.9999% of the information into the trash and only allow about 2000 bits of information to enter your conscious mind. So the question is, what are the criteria for this security guard to let information through? How does he decide what is garbage and what is important information? There are only 2 criteria. First, information related to your survival and safety. This is the factory setting. And second, things you deeply believe in and continuously focus on. The factory setting is like a loud noise that makes you jump. This is for self-preservation. The latter is the watershed moment of your destiny. This is why I say the law of attraction is not metaphysics at all, it's simply biology and physics. You don't attract anything, you just filter out things that don't conform to your beliefs. This explains a very strange phenomenon. Why do people who think they are unlucky really experience bad luck even when drinking water? Why do people who constantly worry about being betrayed by their partners often end up being cheated on? It's not that God is targeting you. It's that your security guard has received your highest command. At this point, you might argue with me, saying, "That's not right. I don't want to be poor. I pray every day for these misfortunes to go away, so why do they still happen?" There's a huge, comical bug here, a disconnect between the human language system and the underlying workings of the brain. Your reticular activating system, RAS, that internal security guard, doesn't understand. No. When you silently think to yourself, "I don't want to get sick, I don't want to get sick," your brain only receives the keyword, sick. It's like if I told you right now, whatever you do, don't think of a big pink elephant, don't think of its long trunk, don't think of its round bottom. What's in your mind right now? Isn't it all pink elephants? When you anxiously think every day, "I mustn't run out of money," your attention is completely locked onto the fear of lacking money. Your RAS is very loyal. it immediately understands, oh, my master is very interested in the topic of lacking money and is investing a huge amount of emotional energy in it. This must be important information. So it starts searching the entire network for information about poverty, drawing you into this energy field of scarcity, making you hesitant and indecisive in your decision-making, causing you to miss real opportunities, and ultimately leading you to actually become poorer. It's a dark comedy. In this so-called objective world, we are all actually living in our own subjective illusions. Speaking of this, we must bring up the great figure from the Ming dynasty, Wang Yangming. In his story of the flower in the rock, he said something truly profound. Before you saw this flower in your heart were one in their stillness. When you look at this flower, its color suddenly becomes clear. This isn't some idealist nonsense. This is the observer effect in quantum mechanics. This is the operating mechanism of the reticular activating system, ROS. That flower, that world, that so-called objective reality, before your attention is projected onto it, exists in an extreme state. It's a chaotic mess of possibilities. It's you. It's the moment your eyes filled with prejudice, fear, or compassion, look at it, that it collapses into a concrete reality. If Su Dongpo looked at it, it would be, the misty mountains and the rain are equally wondrous. If Shanglin Sao looked at it, it would be, this world is driving people to their deaths. So, friends, doesn't that send a chill down your spine? If our lives are what we perceive them to be, then are some of the grievances and emotional turmoil that have tormented us for half our lives. The anxieties that keep us awake at night, something we've brought upon ourselves to some extent? I know your self-defense mechanisms might be kicking in right now. You might say, this is victim blaming. Did I imagine being hit by a car? Did I choose to be born in a slum? Please, calm down. I'm not talking about moral right and wrong, nor am I denying objective suffering. Car accidents are physical events, poverty exists, of course, these things are real. But please listen carefully. The event itself is neutral. It's your perspective that gives it the power to harm you. The same rain, for someone who just washed their car, it's bad luck, a wasted effort. For a farmer who's been suffering from a drought for half a year, it's a blessing from heaven. The rain itself has no good or evil. Rain is just rain. Your perspective determines whether it's a disaster or a blessing. Many times, the reason we are trapped in suffering is because, subconsciously, we are addicted to this victim role. This sounds harsh, but it's true. When we define ourselves as victims, we occupy the moral high ground. If I'm unhappy, it's not my fault, it's the fault of my dysfunctional family. The fault of toxic men and women, the fault of evil people. This I'm weak, therefore I'm right mentality is a highly toxic comfort zone. It relieves us of the burden of taking responsibility for our own lives, but this comfort zone comes at a price. You hand over the remote control for changing your destiny to others. If you believe your suffering is caused by others, then to stop the suffering, you must wait for others to change. You have to wait for your husband to have a change of heart, for your boss to have a change of conscience, for the economic situation to improve. My friend, this is far too passive. It's practically waiting for a miracle. If the Ross principle is true, if Wang Yangming was right, then the good news is that you don't need to change the world, you only need to change your focus. This isn't some kind of self-help cliché. It's a hacker's technique for modifying the underlying code. You need to learn to deceive your brain, or rather, retrain that security guard. How do you train it? First, you have to stop ruminating on your pain. Most people's brains are like a cow chewing its cud. A small unpleasant incident happens during the day, like being stepped on by a passerby. This only lasted 3 seconds, but when you get home, you think about it while eating, while showering, and the more you think about it in bed, the angrier you get. You replay those 3 seconds in your mind 100 times. For your brain, you weren't stepped on once, you were stepped on 101 times. Your nervous system releases the same dose of cortisol and stress hormones with each recollection. You are holding this knife called memory and stabbing yourself over and over again. Then crying and asking why the wound won't heal. You need to give your ROS, reticular activating system, new instructions. This isn't about standing in front of a mirror and foolishly shouting, "I'm rich. I'm happy," because that kind of false affirmation will be instantly seen through by your subconscious and rejected. What you need is specific gratitude and questions about possibilities. Try replacing the question, why, with, what benefits are hidden in this situation that I haven't discovered? When you ask, why am I so unlucky? Your ROS will frantically search through your past failures to answer you, proving that you are indeed a failure. But when you ask, what are the benefits here? No matter how difficult the situation, your ROS is forced to search for the positive factors you've overlooked. Maybe being sick finally allows you to take a few days off without guilt. Maybe a breakup finally lets you see your true needs. Maybe losing your job is the step you've always wanted to take but were afraid to. As long as you ask, your brain will find the answer. It's a mandatory search engine. Whatever keywords you input, it will give you the corresponding results. You also need to learn to rejoice and praise others. This is a big concept in Buddhism, but the principle is simple. When you see others driving luxury cars and living in mansions, if you feel jealous and resentful, thinking, HMPH, what's so great about that? It must be ill-gotten gains, you're actually telling your ROS that you hate. If you have money, but you look down on wealthy people, then your reticular activating system, ROS, will faithfully keep you away from opportunities for wealth, because it wants to protect you and prevent you from becoming the kind of person you dislike. Conversely, if you can genuinely say from your heart, wow, that's amazing, that car is beautiful, I hope I can own one too. And I hope things get even better for them, you are sending a signal to your brain that you like this, that it's safe, and that it's pleasant. Your ROS will then begin to keenly detect opportunities for wealth in your environment. This isn't flattery, it's calibrating your navigation system. We often think that we need to have wealth and health first before we can feel happy and fulfilled, but this logic is completely reversed. Physics tells us that we need a negative first before we can develop a photograph, and then the corresponding scene will gradually unfold. Even if you are penniless right now, you can still feel abundant by looking at the wildflowers by the roadside, because nature gives them to you for free. You can also feel rich because you can breathe deeply without smog. Because that is a gift of life. This kind of inexplicable joy is the highest level of inner strength. When you are in a state of scarcity, if you can still trick your ROS into believing that you are in a blessed state, then the change in your external environment is only a matter of time. This is called acting as if, and it's about making the impossible possible. I know that many of you will still find this difficult, because the neural pathways that cause us pain have been traversed repeatedly for decades, becoming well-worn highways. While the neural pathways of gratitude and joy have long been overgrown with weeds, so neglected that the path is almost impossible to find. Navigating this path requires immense awareness and willpower. It's like trying to make a large river flowing east suddenly turn west, it's going against nature. But this is the meaning of spiritual practice, this is the dignity of being human. Animals are driven only by instinct, reacting to environmental stimuli. But humans can insert a pause between stimulus and response. In this pause, you can choose your attitude. You can choose to continue being the person who lost their axe, seeing everyone as a thief, living in a hostile world until you die of anger. Or you can choose to be someone who sees beauty, who can see a small flower blooming in a pile of rubble, Who can hear inner peace amidst the hustle and bustle of the city? This world is actually a giant mirror. If you smile, it smiles back. If you cry, it cries back. If you wave your fist, it bares its fangs at you. We always try to wipe away the image of ourselves in the mirror, to change that frowning face, but this is ultimately futile. Because the image in the mirror is only the result, the true source is your heart. So stop trying to change the people around you. Stop struggling against that terrible environment. It's like trying to kill the monster on the movie screen. You're hacking at the screen with a knife, but besides damaging the screen, the monster remains. What you need to do is go back to the projection room and change the film reel. That film reel is your thoughts, your focus. Finally, I want to ask you a question. A question that might keep you awake tonight. If your life at this moment is a movie written, directed, and starring you, and you've always thought of yourself as the innocent protagonist suffering, but suddenly someone tells you that you are also the cruel screenwriter, that you yourself arranged these events to experience a certain profound storyline. So, when you realize that the film reel is in your own hands, how will you write the next scene?